first and foremost, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Troma is 45 years old this year. That's a major feat, not just for a film studio, which is an incredible feat for an independent film studio, but for any independent business or small family-owned business to stay, even if you had a spaghetti shop, to keep it open in today's market for 45 years is amazing. So we're here to mostly celebrate Troma and what it means to everybody, but also just to have a good time. And I'd like to thank everyone for choosing to be out here with us tonight and do this together. I'm going to quickly introduce our guests. To my left, everyone here pretty much needs no introduction, but this is Chuck Tingle, a writer and he's a citizen of Tromaville and a Hugo-nominated author. To his left is Patricia Kaufman, and she's Lloyd's wife of 45 years as well. Pat was New York's film commissioner for decades, a lot of years.
19 years.
Yeah, and she's also instrumental producer of some of your favorite Troma films, and she does have an editor's eye for a lot of the things you see. It's gone through Pat's hands first, so a lot of that we have Pat to thank for that, and she's been working super hard on Troma's Shakespeare shitstorm, so we'll talk to her about the future of Troma and how she's involved in keeping that going for us all. To her left, man that needs no introduction, the president of Troma himself, creator of the Toxic Avenger, Lloyd Kaufman.
And I think Christy Rose from Shakespeare's Shitstorm, right? And as if that wasn't enough, Brandon Bassam, the writer of Shakespeare's Shitstorm, and director of the upcoming Slasher 2, which features Ashley Naglieri, who's right here in the room.
While we're on that too, I'd just like to say, and we'll get back to the intros, you can see Christy down in the Troma booth, booth 4017 tomorrow. If you're at the convention, come by and get some merch and meet Christy and talk about Shitstorm. To Lloyd's left is Dolph Ziggler, two-time heavyweight WWE champion, right? Am I correct on that? Dolph is also a citizen of Tromaville, a longtime member of the Tromaville Society, and he's working on a movie with his brother, correct? So he also will speak about filmmaking and the other things he's got going on besides just wrestling. There's a lot more to this man than you know, probably. So to his left is Frazer Brown. He's the producer of the Toxic Avenger musical in the UK, and he also plays Shakespeare himself in Shitstorm, bringing the voice of Shakespeare to life in the upcoming film. To his left is James Rolfe, who you know as the angry video game nerd from YouTube. And last but not least, the man that keeps us all going, the superhero of all superheroes, the Toxic Avenger. To celebrate with us. So I do want to jump in, starting talking about Shitstorm. That is Troma's newest, and you guys just finished up production more or less on this, right, Lloyd?
Yes, but you keep saying shitstorm. It's a hashtag Shakespeare's shitstorm.
Shakespeare's shit.
Very, very important.
Hashtag. Hashtag.
Well, Ziggler is very important how you put words together. Right?
It's all about branding. If you want to get it trending, shitstorm's already trending. Let's get Shakespeare's shitstorm.
And this was as you guys probably know because you're Troma fans, most of the Troma movies are shot in New York primarily and a little bit in Los Angeles. And they do acquisitions, so some get shot all over the country and the world, in fact, and that Lloyd ends up producing or distributing. But Shakespeare's, hashtag Shakespeare's shitstorm, is the first movie that Lloyd shot in another country. They took their production to Albania and worked with the Albanian Navy to shoot, because it's a whale movie, it's shot on the ocean, so they needed to do that in a way that they could afford, and Pat, being the commish, was highly instrumental in that, so I'd like you to tell us a little bit about Troma, Albania, and how Albania became Tromaville East, I guess you would say?
Yeah, Tromaville. No, it was actually great. It helped that I had retired as the film commissioner, so I no longer felt that I had to keep Lloyd and his movies in New York, so that was part of the deal. But also, one of the, Justin Martel, who had been one of the producers on the last 3 Troma films before hashtag Shakespeare's shitstorm, had actually gone, thank you, I got that right, did you notice? Had actually spent some time going around the world finding where could be the next place that film could come and be fresh and get a great deal. And he is actually the one that discovered Albania. He really became close to the Albanian officials. They understood in Albania that they wanted to be like the next Romania, the next Czechoslovakia. They wanted to be the next place that American films could come and do their projects at a great price. And so we became the first American film to ever film in Albania. It was absolutely fantastic. We basically just the producers, Lloyd made and Justin and John Brennan, who was the other producer, and three or four of the actors. We went, and then the whole rest of the project in Albania. We were there for about a week filming. The rest of the project in Albania was entirely done by Albanians. The extras, the actors, the crew, which was terrific. They were all Albanian. We could never have done what we did. We could not have done what we did in Albania. We could not have done anywhere in the United States. We couldn't have afforded it. The Albanian government gave us a Navy ship, and complete with a Navy crew, and the head of the admiral, the chief admiral of the Albanian Navy, came the first day that we were getting ready to sail off into the sea to shoot our opening scenes, and he called all of the sailors to attention, and he made a very serious speech about how this is the Troma team, and they are our honored guests, and we want you to do your very best for them. And they were like, yes, sir, yes, it was absolutely phenomenal. Troma has never been treated any place it ever went. So it was really terrific, and I'm happy to report that we took a chance on them, and they took a chance on us. And they made our stay terrific, and they made our film terrific. I think you're going to see a few clips later on in this session. But it worked out well for us, and it worked out really well for them, because now there's a major film. The team that now owns Fangoria.
Castle Freak.
Yeah, they're doing a remake of Castle Freak in Albania as we speak. They're filming. And it's a $10 million film, which is a huge amount for an Albanian production, and they're there now. So I think the floodgates are going to open. So many of you probably are filmmakers. You're thinking about where can you go, make your film, and get the most possible for your dollar. Albania.
Chuck, as a writer, you churn out books. Like if you look on Amazon, there's probably a Tingler right now going up on Amazon about this panel. But You turn out books so quickly, and it's incredibly impressive. Do you ever have any desire to write movies or to do films? Is that something that you think about doing in Billings? Would you consider filming in Albania? If you
I would definitely consider that. I was once asked to do an adult film, and I scripted this, and then I thought, well, writing about buckaroos pounding each other is a lot easier than filming it. So that was about as far as that goes. But I think that with any way of art, if you are writing with love in your heart, which is what I think at the end of the day, what happens at Troma, and that's probably why you stick around for 45 years, is because some things you see on the outside, they look kind of silly and absurd, and then you look on the inside and you think, wow, there's a lot of love there, and I think that shines through with all of this work, and that is the real key, is wherever you're going to shoot, if you shoot with love in your heart, I think that will really make a great change in how staying power, like 45 dang years of staying power, that's what I say.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very good point, and I think that our panelists tonight, it's a testament to that. I think Tromaville, I've been with Troma about 17 years, and a lot of my reason for believing in this company is because they're so accepting of everybody. No matter who you are, there's a home for you in Tromaville, and we just want you to lead with yourself, be yourself, and go ahead and try to make your own thing. It's worked for these guys. They've all taken different paths to do what they're doing, but it's not easy. I'm sure when you're growing up, people are like, go be a pro wrestler. Like, that's not a career path people normally take. Lloyd was in school to be a Chinese studies major, and he said, no, we gotta do film. And Chuck is clearly driven by his own passions to do what he's doing. And Frazer's grinding every day. I'm sure it was the same for James. He wasn't like, oh, what's this YouTube? Like, this is my dream in life, is to just be a YouTube guy. But you're doing a lot of writing and stuff now out of that. So I do believe the true message of Troma is finding your heart, and we'll always support you in that, and know that there's a community of people out there that are trying to do the same thing. With that, I would like to ask Dolph a little bit about working on your movie with your brother, because Lloyd has shot and made movies with his brother, and working with families is not always easy. Lloyd's movies, he did Mother's Day with Charles Kaufman, he did When Nature Calls, which is one of my favorite movies. And if you don't know, Lloyd's brother Charles owns a bakery in San Diego called Bread and Sea, and it is amazing. So if you're local, definitely eat at Bread and Sea, support the Kaufman fam, and if you're traveling through here, everything looks amazing there. So can you tell us a little bit about your brother and what you guys are doing with your movie?
Go ahead.
My brother, I wrestle with WWE, for those of you guys who don't know, and my brother was in NXT for a little bit, and so he was done riding my coattails in wrestling, and he decided to move on to filmmaking. My brother and I have been joking around and filming little things together for probably 25 years, so it's really cool to see him go through a crowdfunding site, which, you know, not exactly the same as Troma, but Troma having this community where everyone supports each other, and that's very similar to what my brother did, and I think that's so awesome. And I've seen in the past when Lloyd has said, put out those videos about, you know, get your movie made, get your butt out there, go to festivals, make things happen, and that's what my brother did. He really took that to heart, and he crowdfunded a movie, and he got the funding for it, and it's just, his heart is into wrestling, and whether that, you know, it's with WWE or independent wrestling, he's gonna get this movie made because he was pounding on doors and trying to get into festivals and begging for some money, but he got it because everyone knows how passionate he is about the project, which him and I have been doing things for years, and we just try and outdo each other and support each other at the same time. So it's a little rivalry, which I'm winning right now, but it's really fun.
Did you ever not win the rivalry? I'm pretty sure you probably won it pretty consistently.
I've asked my parents if there's a favorite, and they say no, but my mom winks at me, so I don't know.
Speaking of festivals, Toxie, can you fill us in a little bit about Troma's festival that Troma has run?
Well, Lloyd's a better salesman than I am.
Lloyd, can you tell us a little bit about Troma Dance in case anybody's got a movie out there that they need to put into a festival?
Yes, the Troma Dance Film Festival was started about 20 years ago because Trey Parker and Matt Stone had made Cannibal the Musical, and they were obsessed with going to Sundance, and they sent the movie to Sundance, and they paid the money to submit the movie. And we don't do that because the festivals are fixed, most of them. But Trey and Matt paid the money themselves. Troma refused, and of course they didn't even get a get lost letter. They didn't get any kind of letter. So they said, well, nobody told us not to go, so they went, and they rented a place in Sundance, and they had a one-movie film festival, the Cannibal the Musical Festival, and Redford was Robert Redford began that festival. Apparently was really upset. So the next year we started Troma Dance. We started a whole festival in Sundance, Troma Dance, where you don't have to submit you don't have to pay to submit your movies. You can come in and see the movies for free, and no VIP policy. So, you know, Dolph Ziggler, he can't cut the line. He's got to get And now the Troma Dance Film Festival, it's going into its 20th year. Originally it was kind of a stick in the eye because Sundance was really snotty to us, and they got even snottier when we started Troma Dance. But then Troma Dance became kind of like a real festival, and we moved it. Now it's in New York. So you can go to tromadance.com. Also, Troma Now, the hot new streaming service from Troma Entertainment. We are playing quite a number of our fans' movies on Troma Now. So check out that and say, you might have some films you've made that you'd like to get on Troma Now, and you might make 25 cents, who knows? Probably not. But, yeah.
Lloyd, some of the Troma Dance movies that play at Troma Dance go to Troma Now, don't they?
Yeah, well, actually, some of the past Troma Dance movies
So if you submit your
going on
film,
Troma Now. Yeah.
there's a chance it could get onto the streaming site, so that's really cool. James, why don't you tell us what you're up to?
Oh, thank you. My biggest project on the horizon is an autobiography. I'm writing a book all about, how I got started making films and why I do the things I do, and all the trials and challenges and experiences doing that. And it's a lot like the make your own damn movie book and all that type of stuff, where I was inspired by all I learned about filmmaking. I learned from the Toxic Avenger, and as well as Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew.
That's a great
stuff
book
like
as
that.
well,
Yeah, so I think it's going to be kind of along those lines a little bit. It's personalized. It's all about just what I went through. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's written. I'm just trying to figure out how to publish it now and what avenue I should go. So yeah.
By the way, if I may interrupt, James is very modest, but he has a fabulous cameo in Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2.
Yeah.
You will not believe his acting. It's terrific. Fantastic. And thank you, James, for that.
Oh, thank you.
Frazer, before we do our clip from Shakespeare Shitstorm, I'd like to hear from you, Shakespeare Shitstorm. I would like to hear a little bit from you about how you got involved in the film. I'm sure Lloyd knows other people with English accents. I'm sure it wasn't just where you have an English accent. So how'd you get involved in it, and where did you do your filming? And...
Sure. You know #MeToo?
Yes.
Yes, and Lloyd, no. I've had a long, strange journey with Troma. Like a lot of you, I started really young, sneaking VHSs, and I never thought in a million years I'd be in a movie, in a Troma movie. So, I don't know, 2012, I was in San Diego Comic-Con, somebody said, Lloyd Kaufman's here. You won't remember this. We had a photo taken, I was very excited. He said, hey, come to Troma Dance. So I did, I was in New York, went to Troma Dance. Flash forward a few years later, and I think you contacted me about iambic pentameter. You wanted to know if we could do a little bit of iambic pentameter in it originally. And
I think it was a grinder. We were a grinder program.
I knew it was grinder. I knew it. I was asked.
Sounds like pentameter. Yeah, grinder.
Grinder. It's the old English version of grinder, pentameter. So it snowballed from there. I can't remember.
It grew like a fungus.
Grew like a fungus, and then
horrible fungus.
And then they said, "Do you have a costume?" And I said, "Funnily enough, I do." And then that was it.
But wait a minute, did you produce the Toxic Avenger?
Oh yeah. In between that.
No, before that. That's how we met.
I've done 2 Troma musicals at this point. Before I knew Lloyd, I did Cannibal the musical. We brought it to the West End, and then in 2016 we did Toxic Avenger, the musical in the West End. So I'm waiting for that 3rd one, so we can have the Tromatic trio of musicals in the West End.
But that really is where we truly connected.
That's when we truly connected. They had known me 3 years before that, but that's where we...
You said I wouldn't remember that. I won't even remember this tomorrow morning, Julie.
Yeah, that's when we bonded. We bonded. A little bit of bondage, a little bit of bonding.
But you did come. So we came to New York, and where we were filming the bulk of the film, and you did bring your Shakespeare costume.
I did.
And you did a fantastic Shakespeare.
I love that Troma doesn't even provide the costume. It's not like a T-shirt. It's like a Shakespeare suit.
That costume came from the RSC in London. It came from a production of King Lear that an actor called Timothy West was in. It won lots of awards, that costume, and then I sullied it by wearing it.
I think you've actually told us that we have to give the costume itself a credit. Is that right?
The person who provided it, yeah.
So I think there's actually going to be a credit. I know, we must not forget. There's actually going to be a credit in the endless mile-long credits. There will be a credit to the costume.
What I didn't tell him at the time when I handed the costume back was that I'd sweated so much on that set that it had destroyed all the silk. So we handed it back.
Well, with that, I would like to go to the clip of Shakespeare's Shitstorm so we can see what it is all about and what we're in for. Hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm.
Oh, wonder how this goodly creature is now here. How beauteous mankind is, O brave new world that has such people in it.
All these years I've been planning my revenge against Avon Bard and all the world.
We don't care about these people's well-being. We just want to get them hooked and sky high, then have them repeat until they up and die.
It's whales.
It's time to fuck shit up.
Such heavenly touches never touched earthly faces.
Social justice warriors, come out to
Suck my balls.
These violent delights have violent ends. Here's Crossbow.
URL for getting the lights. Wow.
Shakespeare's hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm, produced by a 71-year-old woman. Now, Troma has always been up front, right? Not only a woman, but an old woman. How politically correct can you get? Seriously, that's very politically correct.
And there's gonna be a shitstorm later tonight.
From that clip, it's evident too that if you're a long-time Troma fan, there are a lot of people just in that clip alone that have been in some of your other favorite Troma movies. I saw Yaniv in there, and we saw Frazer too, so that was cool. And your granddaughter was in that clip as well. What's it like working with the babies like that?
Have you got grandchildren?
Dolph, how's your granddaughters? Was it good?
Well, once the child services returned the child to us, I'm settled down.
They get held by the Albanian Navy, or were you able to get them back through customs? It was okay?
They're both wanted in Albania, actually.
Well,
something to do with whales.
Since we got talking about the future of Troma.
By the way, I have an interesting thought today. Marion Williamson. Anyone here know who Marion Williamson is? She's got 2% of the vote. She's ahead of the New Jersey guy and 2 or 3 others, and in the Democrats. And she preaches love like Mr. Tingle, and she's moving on.
I think that both of us might be from nearby timelines. Maybe not entirely this one, but a close approximation. And I think that's an important message across all timelines, so I can get behind that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I had a timeline-related question for you, Chuck. Since we were looking at the newest movie from Troma, which will probably be a little bit, guys, before it's out. Honestly, we know how Troma works. So don't come tomorrow to the booth and ask me if you can buy that movie, because we don't have it on DVD yet. But on this timeline, with your knowledge of timelines and where we're headed and your knowledge of positivity and proving love, what's your take on where we stand right now, and what can we do to make sure as we all move forward in this timeline together that we have a positive experience and we kind of build on where we're at rather than falling backwards, which I have to say in America today, sometimes it feels like we're just trying to catch our breath, or we're, kind of stumbling through going, whoa, we'll just see how this plays out. So what's your take on this? You have a lot of knowledge on multiple timelines.
Yes, I think the key to making this timeline the best place is to look inside yourself and realize that you are so powerful. Just the fact that you have gotten here with every infinite different timeline, creating so many different realities, and you are right here, right now. That is an infinitely small chance. And I think that when you realize that, you realize how dang powerful you are, and how powerful it is to just go out and make a small change, like say hello to a bud, say, hey bud, I like your hat. Or here, let me hold the dang door for you. That's a small change, and then there are bigger changes or different things, and I think that we all are so much more powerful than we could ever know to come together and create multiple timelines that are so positive. And I think that even in your own way, if you are an artist or a filmmaker or a creator of that way, then you can say, I'm going to make something that's going to bring joy. And so something like Troma, when you say, I'm going to make a bunch of buckaroos laugh, or even say I'm going to have a message of saying, wow, this is my free speech message. And that's another important message of saying, well, hey, here's my idea, and this is a scoundrel idea, and I'm going to let them both sit out there, because at the end of the day, what's going to win is the one that shows that love is real. And I think that just means we can let everyone have their ideas and make their art and create their ways, and that love's always going to rise to the top. And so I think that if you want to go out and make this timeline a better place, buddy, then you have the power to do it, and I believe that's very strong.
So I think we've got the vice presidential ticket here with Marion Williamson, Mr. Chuck Tingle.
I would hope to be vice president of Toxie if he is.
Pretty amazing.
Toxie's president, you'll be his running mate.
Oh, Toxie.
Toxie's president.
Toxie Secretary of State.
Do you guys, Chuck especially, do you have advice?
Hold on a second. One of the stars of hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm is actually in the room. I don't believe it. Mr. Ming Chung right there in the room, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, he's known for basically Shakespeare Shitstorm, but there's some kind of comic book thing he does.
He was in the club. He was in.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
You put him in the clip. Oh, take it right out. It's going right out.
sorry about
I
my
didn't know the mic was live. Sorry.
We all deal with hard days, Chuck, sometimes, and I think especially Lloyd and Dolph and James, who are very public on social media, and really, you guys put yourselves out to the world. I do follow some other wrestlers, and I know that wrestling fans can be not kind not very kind on the internet. They have a lot invested in what you guys do. It might be, they might feel they have more control than you, I don't know. But how do you deal with the negativity of that? What do you do? Does it ever get to you? Do you feel like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I'm very active on social media, but a lot of stuff with WWE for me years ago was grassroots, because I was, doing an Ask the Heel Q&A every day, just trying to let people know that what my thoughts were, other than just coming out and wrestling matches. And through that, wrestling, much like Troma and everyone here, it's a very tight-knit community, and they watch each other's back, but they also ask a lot, which is good and bad. And it's so, I don't know, I'm a ham. I love being on TV. I love everyone talking about me. And when I go through comments and it's like, I know I had a bad match the night before, and it's like, great match, great match, great match, you suck. And I'm like, oh, I do suck. Like, and every once in a while it'll get you, but then you remember, like, there are people who are writing to me, like, when I was a kid, and I watched wrestling at 5 years old, and I could write a letter to a wrestling magazine and hope in 6 months later to get a letter back from someone who was not the person I had written to. But today you can just text, and theoretically I'm reading a text from a fan, and I think that's one of the coolest things in the world. So I try and remember 5-year-old me looking up to some other wrestlers and going, what would you want back? And whether it's, I'm kind of sarcastic, so when I say, and if someone gives me a compliment, I usually say blocked really loud. So, but they've come to know that it's like a term of endearment, and it's, without those fans, WWE doesn't have a show, and without those hardcore fans on my timeline on Twitter, I don't have a job, and it's been pretty awesome and rewarding based on those fans, and that's one of the main reasons I keep doing what I do.
And you answer you respond.
Oh, yeah.
You're the one that does, as is Lloyd.
We've talked back and forth many times, usually about how Toxie would body slam me if no one was around. And if no one was around, there's a lot of people here. Maybe $20.
Thank you, that's awesome. Chuck, do you have, if you know of Chuck's Way, you know of the trots. You might be familiar with Chuck's trots. Is there a trot for Dolph if he's having a hard day and he's seen too many negative comments? Could you show us maybe a trot that Dolph could do?
Well, I would say the first of all, first step is to practice gratitude, and that is what Dolph has said he does. That's the best thing you can do, is to take a step back and think, wow, this is what I have, and I'm going to take a step and appreciate that. And then also, when you think about proving love, people think about other people, and sometimes taking a step back and saying, well, it's okay to prove love to other people, but I'm going to prove love to myself today and take a day for myself and say, guess what, this is my boundary, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm going to say, you are wrong when you say that I have a bad way. My way is good. And you can look inward. That's not selfish to say that, to say, I like myself today. And I think that is what he said, so I appreciate that. But a conventional trot, would you like me to do one?
So much.
I'll perform a modern trot I've been working on at this convention.
That was a great trot, Chuck. Thank you so much. I think we could all benefit.
I was bound to make you feel better.
We could all benefit from that trot, and I'd also like to point out this is a very small area, so that trot could be done, if need be, in a hallway or a parking lot of a Taco Bell or wherever you're feeling a little stress, you could just trot it out. You might feel.
No, you guys couldn't see, but he dropped his sandals and he did.
He trotted out of his shoes. By the way.
Yeah,
and then put them back on in his last step.
That's a very advanced move, so be careful if you trot out of your shoes.
Yes. Don't do it where there's sharp ground, right? Dolph, with WWE, it's a very team business where you're working with a lot of people all the time in terms of creativity and what's happening and what the show is about. Does comedy, because Dolph is a stand-up comedian as well, does that give you an outlet to just be you and do, what does that give you in terms of that, where sometimes in your more professional wrestling career, you have to answer to other people, I would imagine, more?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've been with WWE for like 15 years now, and I love it. A lot of improv goes into it. Any day, anytime, anything can happen. But to an extent, you're an actor on someone else's film, theoretically. So when I get a chance to do improv with my brother or stand up on a stage, I can say whatever I want, which is great because I have like 15 years of notebooks just filled up every day writing something. And it's so great that I can express myself every week with WWE, but also having that back channel to where I had a frustrating week at work or things aren't going great and I can go out on stage and tell everybody to F off or whatever, but like in a nice way. But like you can vent your feelings out and not everyone has that outlet. And some people use that for social media and that's in a negative way and doesn't help anybody out. But having fans and a WWE universe and people everywhere to where you can respond and play off them and feed off them, whether it's good or bad, I think is so helpful for me, and it helps me learn to get better. And every time I step foot in the ring or on a stage to do stand-up, it's just to make myself better and have it be exciting. And so far, I said, when it's the day it's not exciting, I'll stop, and I'm nowhere near that right now.
Awesome, that's awesome. Chuck, do you have, when you do your writing, Chuck writes all the time, and your son John told me, or not your son John, but your son John's friend, Gino, who's in here. Gino told me that sometimes you'll be at lunch and an idea will come to you for a Tingler and you're like, I gotta write this right now. And they're like, just wait and eat first, like please. Do you feel like that as well, or do you guys just get a bug? Because as a comedian, you kind of you have to write a lot to get your jokes out. Do you just do it all the time when it comes up? And is that your method?
You gotta follow the inspiration when it strikes. It's a powerful thing. And you gotta grab it and don't let go, buddy.
You just hang on, go with it once you got it? Are you afraid you'll lose them, or?
No, but it's so much fun.
It's just, do you have is there a number of tingles you're trying to achieve? Are you like, I want to write 10,000 tinglers?
I don't even know how many I have. I think that I'm around 300 books.
Wow.
I think, but I don't really count. How many Troma movies are there?
There's over 800 titles in the Troma library. Lloyd's directed about.
Can you name them all?
Troma movies?
About 800. You can get, there are about 300 on Troma now, that they're on the subscription service, but we put up our entire library for free when we hit 40 years. So if you go to Troma
on
movies, there's probably another.
Troma movies on YouTube, there's about 200 titles.
There's a lot of movies, but we probably made about 100, produced, directed, or written, or financed, probably 100 we could take credit as Troma school of, they have Troma movies, yeah.
Lloyd, what was a moment for you in your career? Because you and Michael started out like small time in a closet, like really with your wives helping you guys do this when you were young kids. What was the turning point? Because 45 years is a long time to own your business. What was the point where you guys said, wait, we're doing this, like this is working, and because it was a crazy
idea. Nightmare, the whole thing. I don't get it.
You're still not there yet. You're still trying.
Michael Hurst won't even show his face in public. This is terrible.
It's true. Michael doesn't come out.
I made the mistake of going to Yale University, basically. I was going to do something useful with my life, and I ended up in a room with a movie nut who ran the Yale Film Society. So instead of being a social worker or a teacher, doing something decent with my life. Teaching people with hooks for hands how to finger paint. I ended up filming the people with hooks for hands.
But I think there is at least one turning point. One turning point.
Yes, Commissioner.
Now, I'll answer the question for you. I think one turning point was after you did Final Countdown. Lloyd produced, do you all know the film Final Countdown? That's a terrific film. And Lloyd was one of the producers on Final Countdown, and that was sort of your big experiment with whether or not you wanted to go do Hollywood-type films. And you came
mainstream.
mainstream. And it's a great film, but you said never again. You were
It was very, the people were, Kirk Douglas and his son Peter and I honestly believe we're the only people who wanted to make a decent movie. Everybody else was for other reasons, and I've written about it. It's in the book that James Rolfe referred to. All I Need to Know About Filmmaking, I learned by the Toxic Avenger, written by James Gunn, who isn't as important as James Rolfe, but his name does begin with James. And actually yesterday, I think was the exact 365th day of James getting kicked out of Disney the last time, right? Was a Friday of...
for James Gunn. Yeah, last Comic-Con was a very hard show because James had the whole thing go down with Disney. Lloyd's name was getting dragged through the mud totally unfoundedly. So, last show. And Lloyd was in the middle of production of Shitstorm's hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm last year at the show, and you had your Prospero hair, and you were constantly like telling them, get this guy, we need to send me the script, I'll read it later. And meanwhile, he's getting all this backlash about James Gunn at the same time. So it was a crazy year.
I got periphery threats from that. I contacted you in the morning and said,
a lot of Troma fans.
Somebody had found a message where James Gunn had wished you luck about Toxic Avenger musical in the West End. And I got loads of texts. People on Twitter. I contacted you.
You gotta do that trot. Next time that happens, you do that trot and you just prove love and move on.
I didn't know, but now I know.
No, you know.
Exact year. It's really interesting. When are we gonna make a movie together?
If I had a nickel for every time someone next to me,
right?
I have.
He's the successful one.
I love it. I've had 15 years of missing weddings, birthdays, and everything, and now after 15 years, I get a little bit of time to myself, and I've been waiting for you to ask me that in public so I can say, let's do it.
Well, let's find James Rolfe. Produce it, direct it.
Yes.
I'll take the credit for it.
I'll help you get costumes so they don't have
Projects
to.
with Netflix, I'm sure Frazer can
Frazer,
get you
what
right into
tell us?
I can bring costumes.
So where are you? What are some of your projects? You've got something going with Corman or something?
I've got thanks to Lloyd putting me in touch with them. I've got 3 projects rolling with Roger Corman. Bring them to the West End next year, hopefully. I'm bringing a £1 million production of Night of the Living Dead to the West End. It's sort of an immersive stroke straight theatre piece called, my tagline is "Survive the Film," but it's happening next year. Some stuff with Netflix that I can't talk about right now, but that's rolling. That was the weirdest pitch meeting I've ever been to in my entire life.
Frazer, what's your favorite Troma movie besides hashtag Shakespeare Shakespeare?
I'm going to answer the wrong question. It's always been Monster in the Closet.
Oh, nice.
It's always, and I don't know even, is it officially a trope? Is it?
We distribute it. It's not a Lloyd directed movie, but we distribute it.
Then that's the right answer, yes.
A very good director.
Monster in the Closet.
Monster in the Closet, children can see. It's really good satire of Hitchcock. It's a satire of a Hitchcock movie. In his style, Monster in the Closet. And it's got a politically correct, I don't want to be a spoiler, but it's got a very politically correct theme, 20 years ahead of its time.
And
Only the Troma team
and
can bring you.
the little girl is...
Well, that's right. Fergie is Walker. The late Mr. Fast and Furious. Also, in the scene with Fergie. Scenes with Fergie.
How about the rest of you guys? Please let us know. My favorite Troma movie, Well, I gotta give it up for When Nature Calls, honestly, because I love that movie.
Calls, calls.
It has Freddie Blassie in it. It's got an insane cast. Charles wrote it. It's hilarious. Otherwise, I'd say maybe Bloodsucking Freaks or classic Toxie. But it's hard. I'm like, oh, just pick 10. But and I've always liked Squeeze Play too. But tell us which ones you. That was 8 movies. I'm sorry. Tell us which ones you guys. What's your favorites?
I think mine might be Poltergeist.
Just for all the, because there's so much in that movie.
Yeah, just like the level of effects in that one. I think
Yeah.
that one's like just like the craziness that just keeps accelerating in that one.
It's like meta too. There's so many levels to that movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just yeah.
How about you, Toxie? You have a favorite Toxic Avenger movie?
Obviously, it's Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Humble.
He had to work in New York tonight, so he couldn't be with us, but Toxie came instead of Sergeant Kabuki Man's on the force still, so he has duties to perform. He's trying to get that pension, that police pension. Dolph, how about you?
I know it's a classic, and it's a lot of people's picks already, but the first Troma movie I ever saw was The Toxic Avenger, and it was also the first set of boobs I ever saw, was The Toxic Avenger. So and forever, when I was a kid, I always thought if some girl would ever want to make out with me, I would turn the lights on and it would be a sheep with a bikini on, and luckily that has only happened a couple of times since.
How about you, Chuck? Do you have a favorite Troma movie?
I would actually say the same answer of first Toxic Avenger. I've been thinking about this a lot of relationship between Toxie and Sarah, and I think this is a very kind way, a classic tale of a monster who everyone says, you're so scary, and then all it takes is to find one person who can, well, I was going to say see past that, but not see past that. And I think that message is old as time, and I think it is so romantic, and that would be my choice.
Nice. And Pat's children have starred in a lot of Troma movies. Troma's War, is that the first one they were in?
No, they were in Kabuki Man before Troma's War, right? They get killed,
yeah.
Lloyd kills them.
It's like toddlers, right?
And Lily Hayes, our oldest, is the cute little, when the policeman picks up the little girl in Toxic Avenger and she sort of puts her hands out at the end when they're going to go save the monster, that's our oldest daughter, is a 2-year-old, so.
Well, we got to kill all the kids.
So now you're working on the grandkids.
And now our grandchildren, so.
Yeah, now we're working on the grandchildren. By the way, Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2, it can be seen. The Blu-ray, a few of you have asked, and we probably should throw it to them in a minute.
Yeah.
But the Blu-ray is coming very, very soon. We have a behind-the-scenes documentary in Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2. And the documentary is taking a little longer than it should, like about 2 years, but we're very close. So if you want to rent Return to Nukem High, Troma Now has it there, and the first month is free, I think, on Troma Now. But if you want to rent it, it's like $1. But the Blu-ray is coming very, very, very soon. And with the documentary, 2 girls, 1 duck.
I'm gonna try to.
Behind the scenes, if you'd like to see how movies are made.
I'm gonna try to fit in time for like 2 questions. We're running pretty short on time now, but I do want to mention, please, if you're not following these guys on social media, please look them up on Twitter and Instagram if you want to know when Return to Nukem High comes out on DVD. You will be able to find that information from the following Troma team or Lloyd Kaufman. If you want to find out about Heel's movie and what Dolph is doing, you can follow Dolph on Twitter, and I'm sure there'll be info on that. Chuck Tingle is always posting his latest Tinglers for pre-order on Amazon, so they're a great read. If you're on an airplane, take a Tingler. Maybe someone will say, what are you reading? And you can say, oh, have you heard of Chuck Tingle? And then there's your flight, you'll be done. By the time you finish explaining Chuck, you'll be landing. So, I used to do that every time I flew. I would take all I need to know about filmmaking I learned from the Toxic Avenger. A, because you cannot read that book without laughing out loud, and it's just kind of funny to do in a public setting like an airplane. And B, I was always hoping someone would say, "What are you reading?" so I could introduce them to the book. That's how Troma is known, is from people doing things like that and spreading the word. So if you want a Troma movie to play in your town, talk to your theater. If you want, Lloyd to come to your convention, Chuck, Tingle, Dolph, we got these guys by DMing them on Twitter. So it doesn't always have to be dick pics. Maybe just say, "Hey, I'm doing a thing, would you like to come?" It might work, Celebrities are people too.
I'm happy for dick pics.
Frazer will take all of your dick pics, so please send him your penis shots tonight. But yeah, that's really the deal. Troma would not be here today without the fans, celebrity fans, anybody fans. Everybody is just a regular citizen in Tromaville. That's why there is a no VIP policy. We all love it for the same reasons. So please do follow everybody and keep supporting what's happening, because that's how we're going to get to 50 and 60 and 80 years of Troma. I can do like 2 questions if you run to that microphone. Okay, it's them too. That's it. We're taking
No running in the lobby.
We're taking
Have to fight.
Thank you.
Fight.
Go ahead. Let's just go with the questions.
It's more just like a compliment for James, just thanks for being one of the last of the OG YouTubers who's stayed true to yourself and still makes great content to this day. Also, Dolph, you're in good hands. If you see James's video as the AVGN on Polybius, you're in good hands if he's the director.
Everybody up there is awesome, and I just have one question. I want to know if the panel could actually sign my Toxic Avenger #1.
Yes, and we will be, after the panel, we'll head out to because these guys want to go home when this ends. So we'll take a photo up here for us so that we have a photo for us, but then we're going to move outside so we can do some photos with Toxie and everybody for a few minutes. I'm not going to make them stay here all night, but we will spend a little time in the hall so you guys can see us. Please come tomorrow to our booth, 4017 downstairs. I know it's hard to maneuver around that floor, but I'm doing it with a stroller, so if I can get through, you can come see us at the booth. Please come and buy our merch and see Lloyd and Christy and all of our Troma helpers.
And thank you to Marcus Lesser.
Oh, please, yes, big thank you to
Marcus Lesser.
Marcus Lesser, who I think is out at the baby. Marcus did everything for the show. He did the pre-show work for about 5 months. Marcus has been doing pre-show. He booked the whole panel. He reached out to Dolph and Chuck and James and everybody. All I did was this. So, yeah, Marcus is the reason why Troma has a presence on the West Coast and at Comic-Con. So thank you, Marcus, for that. Go ahead and ask your question, and then I think we'll see how we're going.
So my favorite scene in Return to Nukem High, aka Volume 2, is the one where Lloyd and Pat are arguing about the scene that's being edited, and I was wondering if that's a conversation that happens in real life.
Comissioner.
Daily. There is a convergence of our tastes.
Okay, you guys, it looks like that's all of our time. Before we go, I do like...
Good question, right?
Yeah, that was a great question. And look, 45 years later, so it's okay. Talk to each other in your marriage. It helps keep it together. You can work together as a team and prove love.
It also helps with the pussy. You can see the other men in the audience. We're all bonded.
Before we go, I always like to end our panels with a loud Troma, even though I have no voice. We're the reason this company is going. I want to cheer really fast on the count of 3. I want everybody to say Troma as loud as you can. It feels good. We'll do it all together. Okay, so I'm just going to count us off, and then there'll be like a big old woo. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.